Nigerians, this country no go ever tire to surprise us. Today na fresh drama. Akwa Ibom women don storm street. They want Natasha Akpoti say make she leave their son alone. E be like say this matter don pass politics enter family meeting because these women carry am for head like gara. Them say Akpabio na their own and anybody wey try am go hear am. But wait, Nigerians never even finish to ask Akpabio why he wan give Senator Natasha opua. Now, women don't enter street, they defend her. E be like say this story never even come. If this protest na genuine, e mean say Akpabio get serious backing be that. But if na political drama, e still mean say kasala fit burst later. Which one e be? Before we dive inside this gist, abeg like this video so that YouTube will also recommend it to your other friends. Subscribe to our channel and turn on your notification bell so that you no go miss any of our updates. Now, make I allow una see the clip and don't forget to drop your thoughts on the comment section below. Let's take a look.
We the women of Akwa Ibom and the women of Niger Delta, we are out there today to tell Natasha that our son is so precious to us. Yeah. That in this area that we respect our men. We don't disrespect them. We honor them because God has made them head over women. So we want to tell you that you should stop harassing our son. All the mothers and the wives, they are here telling you should stop that embarrassment. That enough is enough. Our son was trained in the ways of the Lord. He respects elders. He respects the women. He respects the men. He respects the youth. He respects the teenagers. So we are out there as the women of Niger Delta telling her not to respect our son any longer. We have put full stop onto it. Whenever we hear about this again, the women will go on their knees and they will pray, and God Almighty will release it, and the king will flog her. The Bible says there is no peace for the wicked. To bring all of evil unto our son, and we are telling him that the evil will return back to him. Evil will return back to her in the name of Jesus. Amen. Our son attended most of our women there that did their wedding, the wedding of their children. He attended our wedding. He attended your wedding. And why do you want to bring bad name to our son? He are telling you to stop it. Never you embarrass him anymore. We say no to that. He cannot work for you. Your plan will not stand. We cancel your plan in the name of Jesus. You will not succeed in the life of our son. In the name of Jesus. I don't have any number. He's so important to us. He's a precious son. He's a It's a precious stone to Akwa Ibom. It's a precious stone to the women of Niger Delta. So we are telling her that they should stop insulting our son. The women said that should be the first and the last for her harassing our son in a way which is not good. And the women of Akwa Ibom said we don't want that any longer.
Senate President Akpabio, na black Jesus you be. So you won't knock Natasha doggy. Because Natasha no give you doggy. That's why you keep rejecting her motions on the floor. Anything where the woman suggests may they do, you go reject her. Any motion where she raise, go turn her down. Because she doesn't want to come to your house and give you doggy. Senator Akpabio does not deserve to be the Senate President of Nigeria. He must step down and face disciplinary committee. No be like this that they do am Akpabio. Because person wife, a senator, no one give you doggy. Anything where she talk, you go turn her down. You even suspended her. What's the difference between you and a university lecturer where they collect doggy before babes go passing course? What's the difference? This is the height of it. I used to have a lot of respect for the Senate President until now. So now people wife, you they collect doggy from a certified sugar daddy like you. A politician who is supposed to go for young pino girls. Now Natasha, we don't marry, you go for. You date in front of her husband. They tell her make him come back later. Make una spend quality time for your house. Make you collect doggy. Person wife. You didn't even respect her husband, Akpabio. Now bad man you be. You date in front of person husband. They tell him wife. Make him come collect doggy later. Because the woman no give you ina woto 3 woto 3 You now decided to be oppressing the woman. If the woman won't talk, you go tell him shut up. Natasha, sit down. Next. Because the woman did not come to give you doggy. Akpabio. Now like this you like doggy rich. Now like this. A Senate President like you, we're supposed they lead by example. You they knock people wife. Why? Because Senator Natasha no give you doggy. You no one give her peace. Akpabio, you must step down as the Senate President of Nigeria. You are not worthy to be our Senate President. You they collect doggy from people wife. I'm an OG. That's why I'm saying this to you.
Oh, I love you, Radio God.
And I can't keep repeating myself.
Lady Golfer, which day you start to be Senate President? I mean, which day they put you as Senator or mouthpiece of Senator or wife of Senator Akpabio, the Senate President? Which day you start to be the mouthpiece? Because I know you understand. If Akpabio wants somebody to talk for him, his wife they there. I don't understand what they go on for here. Abi, they stand for him as your brother because I took off for Calabar because this just when be say leak. When they see right now, they say you just do all this thing to buy the mind of the Senate President. It don't make sense now. So in case no, you then new to the gist and you see this Gbos between Mr. Jollof and this lady Golfer left and right, man gist you. So now so for as of assembly, Senator Natasha won't find fair woman call they talk now so goes what Akpabio Senate President. Call they try one shut him up like do like shut, you understand, like sit down because she be woman and the person the woman say she's on her right. Call they name they list out the law. Say she's on her right. Say she represent her constituency. They allow her talk. Me they listen to her. Me they give her because the fact say she's a woman does not mean that she don't have a right to talk. That's why they try shut her. People that men say, hey, Lady Golfer, they come outside, they give the woman 28 for 24 hours. I've been 48 hours to apologize to Gbos with Akpabio. I can't ask myself, say when Lady Golfer, because that's how I know Lady Golfer be saying her friends to the all those. So when you go start to the business president, and if Senator if Akpabio wants somebody to talk for him, he has a media crew, he get wife, like he get many. So when you just come the busybody, Mr. Jollof come outside and say, now women they do women. Before you know now you enter like he just they do. Mother, if you won't really fight, because every day very dark man they call that the Akpabio. So you feel just talk to very dark man direct. Because let's say this internet I won't. When they try to like get power show, when you see very dark, if you call that very dark man, I won't no say okay, you want to fight the fight. More they see evidence when they fly up and that. Because this whole thing, shame no call it for this thing again. Madam bear rest, okay, we have heard you. But Natasha na senator, God's work, Akpabio na senator. They are two even there for the same hall. When I know say you self, you know if you enter that kind of place. So I feel Calabar kitchen, make you cook your food, madam. You understand? We understand so you are trying to fight for your brother, but at least you have to listen to what Senator Natasha that they talk, because that one self no talk bad. Because it's only just they come, just they busybody all around. I beg, no go allow us to think another thing. Or come here, I know you like to talk, you know. No go allow us to think. I don't say shame no call there for this our industry again, but at least you go calm down. You go calm down, we'll catch you first. Huh?
The Senate president was in the same position under Senator Saraki as Senate president then. He did not comport himself. Videos are online, but I check YouTube.
So, in what appeared to be a cold relationship between the president of the Senate, Akpabio, and the senator representing Kogi Central, Natasha Akpoti-Uduaghan, raised its ugly head last Thursday as a visibly frustrated Natasha accused the Senate president of intentionally suppressing her voice and preventing her from participating in legislative motions. Senate President then ordered the sergeants at arms to remove the Senator Natasha, from the hallowed chamber. Now, of course, womanhood stood up and said, what nonsense! International Women's Day is across the streets, and here we are trying to silence the voice of a woman. However, other angles started coming up on what could have happened or led to this, and obviously, many have said that there is a lot of backstory that probably we didn't know about before this happened. But what are your thoughts of the drama and the conduct of the two distinguished senators?
For me, if the nightclub incident had not happened and this was the first time there was an issue like this, I think I'll look at it from a totally different perspective.
Okay.
But for the fact that there's a history already of the Senate president shushing women from speaking up, right? So I'm now going to look at it from another perspective. And also coupled with the fact that I watched a show where Senator Natasha was called and she explained her own side of the story. So from what she said, which is her own side of the story, I'm going to work on that, because she had said that they were in good terms, they didn't have issues and everything till that nightclub incident happened. And after the nightclub incident happened, obviously it made her feel a type of way, even though he had apologized, but she withdrew a bit and started keeping to herself. And she had come, and then so many privileges that were due her were withdrawn from her.
So the nightclub stuff, right? And I want to use this opportunity to say that the way we receive information is the way our mindset is at that moment.
Based on our experiences.
Based on our experiences and our mindset at that time, right? Because when I saw his commenter, she spoke without being called, which was against the House rules. I'm talking about rules now. And the Senate president had to say, I've not called you for you to speak. That's not how we do it here. And he said it jokingly, this is not he was laughing when he said it. This is not a nightclub. And I was asking myself, with the sort of relationship that we hear they had, that was not something to be offensive about. He laughed about it, but they took it, I want to say, my opinion, out of context.
Right.
And then it seemed like he was deliberately shutting her down. But she flouted the rule by speaking before being asked.
The Senate president was in the same position under Senator Saraki as Senate president then. He did not comport himself. Videos are online, but I check YouTube. He was shouting, Zagada was crying, walking around.
Thank you very much.
The same Senate president now is sitting and doesn't understand that he should be a bigger person. When she was shouting, she came up and she did not stand up against any rules of the House. She found a rule of the House, which she read out and asked him, please, can I be heard on this, before she started to scream.
Yes.
Good morning, and great to have you on the morning show today.
Morning, ladies. It's great to be, and I'm glad this is all women. Sorry, Steve.
Right?
Yes. Great to see. And you are the hero. You were the hero of yesterday. If I may just start with that, because your response, your retort to Senator Akpoti-Uduaghan, that it's about seats, and she tried to minimize what was clearly about the visibility of women for women at the assembly. That's why where they sit matters, because you've just talked about how there isn't enough women in our democracy, in our political landscape. We talk about this all the time. We talk about the UN Charter. We talk about how Nigeria signed on to it. And then the only 4 women that you have, we don't see them. So yes, it's not just a case of seats, it's about visibility. And it is rather unfortunate that we have a senator such as Senator Akpoti-Uduaghan. It's sad that she bears my name actually, but that's a whole different story altogether. But it's sad that not only was she incoherent yesterday, but she doesn't understand the importance, the critical importance of being seen as a woman. So, which then takes you onto that whole thing where it's not every woman who should be where they are. She's forgotten that Senator Natasha, what has she had? 3 probably 12 years of trying, being abused, being maligned in Kogi, having the road to our constituency dug up by the former Governor Yahaya Bello. She's had threats to her life, yet this woman did not give up. She was determined, she was focused, she was undeterred, and she continued and continued. She persevered until she got there. It is sad that somebody like Senator Akpoti-Uduaghan, who clearly only just got there like that, doesn't appreciate the struggle of her colleague. But what's even worse, and this is on a personal level, is the infantilization. We do this in Nigeria. We call, they'll call the leaders, he's the father of the nation. Akpabio is the father. Well, no, I know who my father is. I'm sure you know who your father is. The president is my president. He is not my father. The president is responsible for the nation. He is not the father of the nation. That is how we constantly, project the powers that we have as citizens onto leaders who are working for us. But sadly, Senator Akpoti-Uduaghan was so unintelligent yesterday that she kept referring and infantilizing Senator Natasha Akpoti as my daughter. She's my daughter. No, she is not. She is your colleague. You are both senators, albeit, yes, you're older than her. And yes, we do have a culture. We have a culture that's in any part of the world. And it's not just Nigeria. You respect your elders. I worked with people, I have managed people who could be my grandfather, right? But they would never did refer to me in an office or in a meeting as their daughter. That would be insane.
I'd like to come in there just because of the points that you've made, and really just coming from the reactions that we've seen since that the accusations were made by Natasha here on Senator Natasha here on Friday. Now, first off, we're seeing Senator Akpoti-Uduaghan coming out and saying, it's about the seat. She could have just gone to her own seat. We're seeing the Senate President's wife coming out and saying, I know my husband. He's a good person. He would never sexually harass anybody. I'm always in the house. I know everything that is going on. And we also now have the side of persons who are saying that there have also been people who have falsely accused men of sexual harassment, only to find out that it didn't happen, but then the damage has already been done. How do we balance out, these kind of reactions, especially when it's a he said, she said situation, without the proof that I guess if we take to the court of law that needs to be there? How do we manage these kind of sensitive situations when it comes to sexual harassment, especially in the workplace against women?
Okay, so the first thing you do is, whilst we can acknowledge that human beings lie, literally human beings lie, that is a fact. It's part of the foibles of being mere human. That might be a fact, but it is a tiny percentage that lie about rape, that lie about sexual harassment. Why? Because one of the hardest things to do is to come out as a woman and point to a man and say, you are the person that abused me. You are my abuser. You are my rapist. No. Women, you can see yesterday when Senator Natasha was on this show, on this at the station, you could see the heaviness in her voice. You could hear it, right? She was wearing sunglasses, but anybody who is discerning would know that there was a lot of pain going on behind those sunglasses. Even more so is the moment a woman speaks up, she becomes even more vulnerable. So it's one thing to be vulnerable and be abused and you're dealing with it at home and you cry, oh by God you cry. But it's another thing when you then come out to the world and you say, this is my vulnerability. This is what has hurt me. This is what this man did to me. So when people say, oh, we hear of lies. Yeah, well, our politicians lie to us all the time. Hardly any of them ever go to jail for lying to us. So that's that. Now, going back to your other question about proving sexual harassment, this is also the other thing that I have been trying to educate. I'm tired. A large majority of very, very, very ignorant men, all of yesterday, is that the hardest thing to prove is sexual harassment. Why? Because the power of sexual harassment is the surprise, random, unexpected nature of it. So I didn't come here thinking anybody would sexually harass me. You don't go into your boss's office thinking you're going to be sexually harassed. But then it happens and you're in shock. You don't know what to do. So how do you prove that unless there was a witness, right? So if there's nobody there, well, of course it's he said, she said. This is why it beholds on all of us to actually, when it comes to these sorts of allegations, we are trained to always believe the woman first, not because we are sure they are telling the truth, but because when you say to somebody, I believe you, it's like your child. When you say, I believe you, it then gives you an opportunity to investigate. Because if you literally dismiss what they're saying, then you're not going to get a chance to investigate. So we really must applaud, I personally applaud Senator Natasha Akpoti for her courage, incredible courage, especially in her position, for coming out, especially in a country like ours, especially in the cesspool that is a Nigerian sexual harassment epidemic. We do have an epidemic of sexual harassment and rape in this country. In actual fact, before I move on, I think we're at the point, as a girlfriend of mine said to me yesterday, and she too had been through that we need to declare a state of emergency, because it really is that bad. And it takes a woman, a really courageous, intelligent, sharp, determined woman like Senator Natasha, an Amazon, to come out and say, it has happened to me. Think of Weinstein. It took one actress to say, me too. So are we at the point where we're going to say, hashtag Akpabio me too? And Akpabio doesn't necessarily mean Akpabio the person, because he's not the only person that's called Akpabio. But that name, because you have a Senator Natasha who was able to point to say, this boss of mine allegedly did this to me, then Akpabio, the name Akpabio easily can become synonymous with sexual harassment and the declaration of war on sexual harassment.
While we're on that, because, you know, one of the biggest talking points at the moment is that, okay, fine, well, we've only heard one side of the story.
Correct.
What do you want to see happen? What are the next steps that, if I may call it, a sane climb, we would see taking place so that there can be justice, fairness, so this issue can be resolved in the correct manner?
Excellent question. Sorry, I didn't finish answering Shaitan's question because she did ask about the wife. Wives, it's okay to defend your husband if that's what you believe. You know, I understand that. After all, we're all women, right? It's love and all of that stuff. But it is pitiful when you say you are going to sue the accuser of your husband when the accuser didn't accuse you. It is pitiful that while she may have been at the house on that day, and Natasha told us her husband was also at the house, she certainly wasn't in his office when he did it the second time. So what is she going to sue about? What? Stand by your man? I don't know. Anyway, going back to your question again, please ask. Oh yeah, you said what do we want going forward? Excellent question.
Yeah.
What makes sense is investigation. Look, we can't keep having women literally coming out in spite of the abuse they're going to receive, because from yesterday, men, really stupidly ignorant men, had already started going on about Senator Natasha's history. Well, I dare them to ask their mother if their mother doesn't have a history of boyfriends. And why does it matter? Why should we care what a woman's history is? The fact of the matter is, whatever your history is, it does not invalidate that experience that she is claiming at that time, which is why we must investigate. How do we get a really sort of fair and decent and trusted investigation? The Senate president has to stand down. There's no other way, because he cannot preside over a case that's actually where he is the named perpetrator, allegedly, right? He can't. So at this point, we need the Senate president to stand down. At this point, I call, and I know that many Nigerian women actually agree with me, we call on President Bola Tinubu to actually do the needful. They need to advise the Senate President, Senator Akpabio, to stand down until the investigation is corrected. Because, Mr. President, you have an opportunity to change Nigeria. You're doing a lot of reforms, but this is a reform that's generations old, that should have happened. At this point, sir, we need you to stand up for women. Talk to Mrs. Remi Tinubu, your wife. She will assure you that many women, the chances are, and I don't have the stats here, but speak to 20, 30 women in a room. 99% of them would have experienced one form of sexual violence or the other at least once in their lives. We're talking about sexual harassment. Sexual harassment is why all the reforms you are doing, Mr. President, is actually not going to get very far. Because unless you stand up, sir, and you protect and speak up for women and say, the women of Nigeria come first, whatever you're doing, we're really not going to get very far.
And just to take this from another angle as well, because some people might say that, is this how we're going to do it? Does this mean that women who've experienced this or allege they've experienced this should now all come and report on public platforms? Why was the correct process not followed? Why was it not reported? Why did it? Surely there's a way that these issues are handled within the Senate. Was the way it was managed? This is what
this is the question.
Yeah.
Are there? I'm wondering, because it's interesting that you ask. Senator Akpabio kept going on about the rule book when doing their row at the Senate last week, the Thursday before, right? But I'm wondering, in that rule book, is there such a thing? Are there rules against sexual harassment, intimidation, how you speak to staff, how you treat staff? Because if I may share a rumor, our National Assembly is known to be a cesspool of all sorts. So where was she supposed to report? That's number one. Number two, a friend of mine, I had many women calling me yesterday, obviously because of the work I do, in addition to my journalism. A friend of mine told me yesterday, in the public sector was when it happened to her. And yes, she reported. This is an answer to all those men who are saying, why didn't Senator Natasha report? Why is she only just speaking out now? Well, my girlfriend reported. She reported to the next in line and the one above them. And you know what they told her? It's impossible, he's a pastor. He couldn't possibly, and they did nothing about it. So even when women, the majority don't report, because even when women do report, here you go, where's the proof? How do you prove that somebody slapped your bum? How do you prove that somebody said, come and meet me at the hotel? A friend of mine once went to do a presentation to a big MD in this country. She got there, all dolled up, as we do, business presentation, in a suit and everything. She got there. Hello, sir, good afternoon. He said to her to sit on the table in the corner. She did, which was the meeting table. Do you know what he did? He came from behind and unzipped his trousers. Sorry, who was she supposed to report to? So that's why I'm calling on the president. The only way we can fix this is for the president to mandate the Senate, in fact, the whole of National Assembly, for this investigation to happen. And then they need to invite women who are experts in how you implement these things to come and implement a sexual, sort of sexual harassment training. We've had gender training at NAS. You've had gender training at the CBN under SLS. These trainings are important. We're not saying they're going to solve everything overnight, but they are a start. Because often, a lot of men don't, and there are good men. Oh gosh, there are good men. And that's the thing, when you get good male allies, they literally, that's why she probably couldn't tell her husband, because men work with ego, right? So they literally take it personal, like, why, how dare you? But the majority of men do this, and the majority who do this, there's also a percentage of them who don't even know that they are actually behaving in a sexually. Somebody sends you a naked picture of themselves. It will say it's just a picture now, right? Somebody sends you porn and you're offended. They say it's just porn. Now what is your own? So you can just delete it, right? They don't know that sexual harassment comes in many forms. What Senator, and I must go back to her, what Senator Natasha Akpoti said yesterday is one of the most egregious forms of sexual harassment. It's in your face, but there are those who are, we all know when a man is standing in front of us and undressing us, right, with his eyes, right? How do you tell anybody that? I mean, try going to HR and saying, hey, look.
I was reading the statement that was put out by the Proper Women's Foundation, strongly condemning and describing what happened to Senator Natasha as entrenched misogyny and deliberate exclusion of women. And we'll just continue to follow up on this case and see exactly what happens. But we really appreciate you coming into the studio today, Ireti Bakare Yusuf, a journalist, and of course, the person behind the Proper Women's Foundation. Thank you so much.
Thank you for having me.